I'm ready. All right. This is kind of interesting with the headphones and stuff. How you guys doing? Yeah. It's yeah. I'm gonna try to engage you a little bit because it's a little bit hard to kind of get a feel for what's happening out there with all the stuff going. So let's see how this goes. So so what do you think? What do you think of the show so far? Yeah, Claris. Who used FileMaker when it was still at Claris? Some old people in the room. Yeah, me. Yeah. I'm pretty excited. I think it's a great name change, and really excited for all the changes that are coming. Um, one of the things that we've been working on for a long time is there are certain kinds of applications where you really want to be sure about how you're developing them. You don't want to push code into production, maybe on a live server, because you might be breaking the business in some way, right? So for those kind of scenarios, we've always wanted a really great automated data migration tool. And so when FileMaker released the data migrator a couple years ago, that solved one of the key underlying problems that we had. How do you get your data from one file into another file, from an old copy of data, new copy of the solution? How do you get that in there really fast? And FileMaker solved that problem technically with the data migration tool. How many people are using that tool in some form or have had that problem of having to do large-scale migrations? And it's a pain, right? And you can automate it to some degree. You can do some amount of scripted importing or things like that. The data migrator makes it easy, but what it did is it removed the first roadblock and it made the next things in the process hard. So to do a data migration, you have to get the copy of the files from the server, the live data. You have to take your new copy. You have to bring them together somehow, right? And if they're on two servers, you're copying them down. You're manually copying them down. You're putting them somewhere on your computer. Maybe you're firing up the data migrator in the command line, or maybe you've got some utility that does it once you've pulled those files down and you got that. All now that you have the data migrator, that's actually a thing you can actually do. The problem is it's way too many manual steps. That was our take on it. Just I know that I want to move this file to that server, and I want a data migration to happen. That's the only decision I want to make. I don't want to make, okay, how do I go get the file? Let's see. Can I log in and get a backup? How do I do that? Okay, where do I put it? I don't want any of those. Those are all conversations I do not want to be having. I want to be having the conversation of the file on development is ready to move to production. Let's push a button and make that happen. And so that's Otto's core feature set. We have some other features which I want to, some newer ones which I want to show you, but I'm going to start with that, okay? Any questions so far? Am I yelling? You sure I'm good? All right. All right, so Otto runs on, it's an installed service that you put on your FileMaker server. So we have a little installer for Mac and Windows. You run that on your server, it installs, starts it up, and if you go into port 3030, you will find the Otto web page. And here you'll find all the different things that Otto can do. And so this is what we call the Otto web server, and it is installed on any FileMaker server that you want to use Otto with. Okay? It runs in the background. It's automatically restarted when the server restarts. So there's really, once you put it up, there's nothing more you need to worry about. So I've got it running here on a Mac Mini, which is over in my booth over there. And I've got it running, I've also got it running here. Whoop, I thought I had, let me pull that up. Here on my machine right here. So this is what it looks like when you log in. All right, so I've got it running on both machines. We've got some features in here. So here's a look at the databases that are on the server right now. I've just got a couple. This obviously you can get from the server admin console. We just have this in here as a convenience because you're going to be working with opening and closing files. So you want to have some way to look at this. You can also see the connected clients. You can see the schedules that are on the server. One of the nice things is that you can enable or disable that default backup schedule that FileMaker server puts in that you may not want on, and there's no way to do it through the admin console. You can do it through the command line, but we just kind of give you this as a little convenience. We've also got a file manager built in, so you can pull down your FileMaker backups right from here as well. You don't have to go to FTP or log into your server. You can just grab your files and pull them down. A couple other things, which I won't get into too much, but a few more just conveniences. Turn on PHP, turn on XML, and then we got migrations, which we're gonna dive into. So that's our web server. So we kind of, I wish I had thought a little bit more about the names. It's kind of confusing. The Otto web server is the service that runs on the FileMaker server, and we have a FileMaker file called Otto Migrator, and that is a FileMaker file which communicates with the server and will give you, basically allow you to set up a migration and do it. So Otto Migrator is the FileMaker file. The Otto web server is the service that runs on each of the servers. Make sense? An important thing to point out here is you don't need this file. One of the principles that we used to develop Otto was this idea of API first. So all of the services that Otto uses to do its magic are all exposed as RESTful APIs that you can use to come up with your own way of doing migrations. And that's one of the things that we think separates us from anybody else out there, is that we are exposing the underlying APIs that we use to create the Otto FileMaker, the Otto Migrator file, so that you can do it any way that you want, right? These are exposed APIs, and in fact, we have all the help documentation on how to do that. The developer API is all here, so if you want to write your own migrator file, you can. This is especially good if you have a vertical market and you're doing things in a very particular way. You've got hundreds of machines that you need to migrate to. You could create your own solution that manage that process beautifully, right? So this is the file that we give to you, and it's really just, we just have a list of projects. We call them migration projects. You can create a new project, and when you do that, you just give it a name. And let's call this demo 2. Whoops. And then you have to pick your server. So you're going to say, okay, where am I pulling the files from, and where am I installing them to? So I'm going to pick my development server, and I'm going to put in DC. The reason I have these up is so I can just copy the names super quick. So this is my development server. It's a Mac Mini running over there, and its password is, so this is the admin console password. And you just want to click this little refresh button, and it tells you that it's made a connection. So this is showing me all the files that are over there on that server, right? So this FileMaker file has contacted the Otto web service running on that server, said, hey, give me a list of your files, right? That's how you know you've been able to make a connection. So it's important that these pieces have to be able to see each other through DNS. This is one of the problems that people often run into if they have stuff running behind a firewall or something like that, or a VPN. They have to be able to see each other. So your network has to be visible. All the nodes have to be visible to one another. So we got one. Let's put another server. Let's make this production. And this is, what am I using here? I'm using this address. And did I miss something? I think that's right. Let's see. Yeah, got it. Okay, so now I've got both files. Now a couple of little nice things. You can select a file and just download it if you want. It's kind of another little convenience. People use this to snatch files off their server whenever they want. We don't need that, so we've got our two files set up. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a migration. So now I've got my two connections. Let's create a migration. We're going from development to production. The account name for the files is, this is the file password. I'm not using an encryption key. I don't think I got that one right. Let me just demo. Okay, and I'm going to choose a file. So I'm going to migrate our LedgerLink solution from the server over there onto my laptop, which I've got a server running on. So if you look at, if we look at here and we go to the admin server console, we'll log into this one too so you can see it. So you can see there's no LedgerLink file here, right? This is my laptop, no LedgerLink file. The LedgerLink file is over on the production server, the development server, and now I want to migrate it. So I've got a couple other options. We can either migrate, which will do a data migration. If the two files are there, and you select migrate, it's going to ask for a clone, and it's going to make a clone on the development server, bring it over, and do a data migration. Since it's not installed here at all, we're just going to do a copy, and we're going to just copy the file over. Okay? There's a few other options which I won't get into because there's other things I want to cover, but basically all the things that are exposed in the FMP Migrator tool are exposed here. Okay? Once you've got your migration, you just click Start. Let me back up. You can choose to run a script after the migration, and that can be useful if you're changing enough things. Maybe you need to change. Maybe you've changed the way you stored some data, so you want to actually move data from one field to another, or add new data, or delete data. Anything that you have to do after the file's been migrated, you can choose to run a script after that happens. Okay. Oops, I'm not going to run a script this time, so we're going to say don't run a script. Let me see, did I skip scheduled? Yeah, you can also schedule it for later. So you can say do this at midnight or do this after hours or whatever. We're going to say right away, and we're going to say I did it again. Don't run a script, and we're going to start the migration. And now what's going to happen here is it's going to check to see the files are in use, and then we're going to get this little migration pop up here, and it's fetching the file from the server over there. This is always the scary part because conference Wi-Fi is a little weird, but it looks like it's about done here, and the migration is complete. It's all done. If we want, we can look at the results. It gives you a bunch of data back if you want. Don't really care about that. Now, if we look at this solution, there it is. LedgerLink has been installed. Okay, pretty cool. So we have a customer just emailed me the other day. He said he tried 75 files on his first try, which I thought was crazy. But he tried 75 files. He set up Otto, got it connected, 75 files, and it worked first time. Frankly, it was stunning because there's a lot of moving parts. You have to have 75 files with the same passwords to make that all kind of, work together. So it was pretty amazing. But you can do obviously 75 files. More commonly, we're doing much smaller than that. But you can choose multiple. You can also you can decide how many files you want to migrate at a time. So because it actually can run in parallel, so it can pull down. We have it set for the default to be 5 at a time. But if you want to do less or more, you can set it to less or more. And it'll actually do those migrations concurrently, the data migrations in parallel, right? So you can see what a big time saver this is. You take all of the manual process and thought that goes in. Now that I have that migration set up, I could just rerun it, right? So let's change it. We'll just flip it and do a data migration. We'll turn on migrate, and we'll do it. We'll do the same thing. Did that again. Don't run a script, start a migration. So this time it'll do the same thing, but it'll fetch a clone. So it might take a little longer. It's got to make the clone. It's got to do the data migration. But once you have this set up, you're now in single button land. Click, migrate, click, migrate, right? There's just all of that effort, manual effort goes away. And the migration's complete. Everything's done. You can look at the results, actually, history. You can look at each of the things is saved, so you can see. There's a bunch of data here. It tells you everything that happened. We've got some other views of this I'll show you in a second. But you notice we're using JSON, right? So all what this file is doing, this Otto Migrator file, is it is creating a big JSON payload, a bunch of JSON data, and it's sending it to the Otto server. It says, hey, go. The Otto server says, I got it, boom. And it just starts, it says, hey, give me this file from that server. In fact, you can pull files from as many servers as you want. You can have, if you have 5 files in your migration, they all live in 5 different spots, you can do that, not a problem, okay? So, Let me show a couple of other features here that are pretty cool. Let's see. So first thing is, so I want to show you the migrations tab here. So the migrations tab, this is actually also storing all the results of the migrations that have happened. All right, so you have them here. A couple things up in the upper right, you can actually revert right here. You can click this button and before it does a migration, it saves a copy. If you decide, oh boy, we shouldn't have shipped that feature yet, you have a single button push to revert to the previous state. Pretty cool, huh? Right? You can also just run it again. You can just come here and click this button and run it again. You can run any of these migrations again. Just click the button that says repeat, and you can run it again. You can also you can look at the details, and it shows you. It'll tell you more about what happened. Like here's all of the data migration information that comes out when you do it. So all this stuff is here in this nice interface for you to use. Any questions so far? I'm going to switch to other non-data migration topics here. So if there's data migration issues, let's try to get through them. But I only have about 15 minutes, so let's start over here. Yep. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Well, so the beauty of it is data stays on production. You don't actually want them. You don't want the data to move off production because that's where all the weight is, right? So we take that data file, we close it on the server, we grab a clone from your production, we bring it over, and we use the data migrator to shove the data inside it. We close that file and we reopen it, and we repeat that for 100 files. So the schema is coming from the new file, the data is coming from the old file, and we shove the data into the schema. It can tell you, we actually do in the data migration, we do tell you if fields have been added, which we didn't. But down here, we've done a few things things that we wanted to call out, make sure that we remembered that certain things happened. We can add more of like schema changes, but we're kind of waiting for other things. Let's just say that for now. But yes, it's a good idea. What changed? I got a bunch of questions, and by the way, I'm going to take one more question, and then I'm happy to take answers at the booth because I got a couple more features I really got to show. So let me take one more question up here. Okay, back here. Yes, it is. The latest version of Otto allows you to pull the file from any internet address. Yes. The file has to be addressable via HTTP. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. So you have to put it somewhere that you can get. You could put it in the file. You could put it in FileMaker Server's HTTP public directory. That would work, right? Anywhere. Yeah. Anywhere. All right. I'm going to move on because I got a couple of the features I really want to show that are not data migration. But Otto does more than data migration. So one thing it does is, let me switch over to a different server here. So configuration, you notice we have S3. So we also include automatic backups to S3. So if you need to do offsite backups, you just have to get your API key from Amazon, you fill out your information, set a time, and it will take a backup that you choose, and it will move it to AWS. And the way AWS works, it's ridiculously cheap because they don't charge you to put the stuff up there. They charge you to take it out. So it's beautiful for backups because you're going to put hundreds of files up there and you're going to take one down every once in a while. So literally it costs pennies. So we are running full backups we're keeping daily backups of everything, and it's costing nothing. I mean, it's just, I don't even know, it's tiny, tiny amounts, right? And so that just happens automatically. Let's see. So there's backups. We also have, I'll say this real quick. We'll skip that one. I don't really want to cover that one. So let me talk about the latest thing we've done here. So this is what we're calling an app store. So Otto now has the ability to, well, there's only a couple apps in here right now. We just launched this actually like Friday. But once you have Otto on your server, you can go to the App Store here and you can find third-party apps either from us or other people that we hope to put in here, and you can install them with a single click. So I'm going to install GoZync on this server. Okay? So it says it's begun. It's going to start this migration. So as soon as it's done, GoZync will be available on the server, and you can just open it up and start playing around with it. So GoZync is a good example. It's an app that really is about doing synchronization between a server and an app running on FileMaker Go. Well, now we can just go and start playing with it because it's already on. You can see the migration told us they've both been copied on. If we go back to install apps, you'll see that we get a new button which is open in FileMaker. So I can just click this and it's going to open up GoZync right on my server, and I can start to configure it. I can download the mobile apps that go with it, and I'm just off and running. So we hope to get some more apps in here pretty soon, but we like this idea of, and again, it's really easy for us to do this because Otto is already doing all the work of moving the files down, opening them up. We've got all that scripted. So we could do this stuff really easy. And so we're looking for third-party people who want to put their apps on here. Also, we think this is great for vertical market folks. We can come up with ways so that once Otto is on your server, that we can automatically script the install of your application, just happen automatically. You know, all that kind of stuff can just be done. So I'm about out of time. So we have the booths over there. Happy to talk to anybody about anything else. But are there any more questions people want to share with the I guess I got a few minutes. Where's Brian? I got a few minutes, right? 7 minutes. Okay. Well, I'll take questions. Any questions? So that would happen when the file is open and accessed for the first time. So we're not doing anything special for that, right? There's just because we're not. That happens. That takes a FileMaker client to do that, right? So there's nowhere in this process is there a FileMaker client. There's the data migrator, and there's a bunch of JavaScript and Node.js and other things doing that. You could tell it to run a script afterwards to do that. Yeah, exactly. Somebody else had a question over here? We don't have that, but you could certainly add it. The FileMaker file, the Otto migrator file, is completely unlocked. You can do whatever you like to that. Yeah. Deploy, mirror, 360 deploy. Yeah, I mean, they're doing the same, one of the same jobs. The question is, how is it different than deploy? Well, it's better, obviously, right? No. I'm good friends with those guys. It's we talk a lot about these kinds of things. They're obviously using the same data migration tool under the hood, right? They use a different technology to put together all this stuff. I don't think they offer anything besides data migration. I think they have a separate product for backups, and I don't think they do. They don't think they have. I know they don't have an app store, and I don't think they expose their developer API. So we really focused on making this kind of a. We wanted to provide the high-level tools, the interface and the Otto migrator file, but we also wanted to make sure that low level was there for you to use. We want this to be the one thing you put on your FileMaker servers, right? That's kind of the idea. The pricing, good question, pricing model. Thank you for bringing that up. So we sell them in packs. So it's $400 a year for a 3-server pack. 3 servers because FileMaker's licensing now has the most common option is a 3-server option. And then they go 3 servers for $400, and then it goes up from there depending on how many servers you want. We sell them in packs. Let me just bring up the pricing here. So we have a 3-server, a 10-server, and a 25-server. A couple things I should mention also is there's a free version, which doesn't include migration, but it does include a bunch of the other things. So the App Store is there. I didn't talk about the API keys, but a bunch of the other features are there. But migration and Amazon backups are not. They require a license. But a lot of the other stuff is there. So being able to, you can actually pull down, I mean, just simple cases for the API is, you can write a simple FileMaker script that just grabs a file off your system, off of your server. Grabs it, pulls it down, puts it on your desktop, do whatever, put it away, archive it. We have made the process of getting files from your FileMaker server scriptable, okay? Scriptable to get those files down from your server. Closing those files, that's all. We did this before the admin API, where you couldn't, now that stuff wasn't, it is now, but you can't get clones from the data API, from the admin API, so we have some still additional features on top of that. So we've made this process scriptable for you to be able to do those kinds of things. We have one customer, they don't use Amazon for backups. They have a process that runs every night that they just pull down their files into container fields and spit them out into a directory that's like Dropbox or something like that. Works great. Scriptable. Yeah. Yes, so we have the default is it keeps the last 10. You can change that default. Because when we first shipped this, suddenly after about a couple weeks, our servers were full up, right? Just jam full. So yeah, so by default, it will only let you keep the last 10. No, it's just total number of migration backups that you have. You can also, the other nice thing about the S3 backups is you can set S3 to not delete the files that are deleted here. So basically, we just have we keep 3 copies local, and those 3 are just getting synced to Amazon. But when you delete the one here, it doesn't delete it there, and Amazon just stays. So we keep 3 local copies, but the ones in Amazon just keep going forever. Yeah. Anybody else? It's a good one? Did I hear that? It's a good one? Yeah? All right. DevCon special pricing. Yes, thank you. 20% off everything. All products are 20% off. If you spend $3,000, which would be only what? An Otto, what do you have to get? You have to get an Otto 25 pack and maybe a LedgerLink 10 pack, and you'll be there, close to it, something like that. So yeah, 30% off if you spend $3,000 or more. FM Perception, Otto, and LedgerLink, they're easy. Get it, GoZync, no problem. You're there. GoZync Unlimited, it'll get you right over the limit. Perfect. All right? Thanks, everybody.